Thank you, Xavier. I think he deserves another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is also no stranger to Malaysians today, although not without, sadly, personal grief and tragedy. Pascal Najadi is the son of Hussain Najadi, who was the founder and former chairman and CEO of AmBank Group. His father was gunned down in broad daylight in Kuala Lumpur, which took place in July 2013. Shortly after Pascal said his father had reported concerns about the then Prime Minister's billion-dollar private accounts open at his former bank to both the police and the central bank, Bank Negara. Pascal Najadi has since protested to the United Nations over what he believes has been a willful failure by the Malaysian police and prosecutors to investigate the motive behind what has been confirmed to have been a hired killing, apparently connected to the then Prime Minister. As recently as earlier this month, DAP prominent leader Lim Kit Siang in Malaysia had urged police to reopen the investigation into Hussein's murder case to find out if there is a link between the murder and 1MDB fund transfers involving AmBank. Pascal Najadi says he fled Malaysia for the last time on March 8, 2014, which was the day also of the disappearance of the MH370 jet. He no longer regards himself or his family to be safe. He told Sarawak Report that on the occasion he last saw his father, it was 4 days before he died, and that his dad had spoken to him about massive corruption in Malaysia. We are privileged to have Pascal with us today to share his side of the story and the latest update on his efforts to bring about justice for his family. Before I invite him on stage, we will play a brief clip from the news before he comes on stage.
3 men waited for Hussain Najadi and his wife outside Huanian Chinese temple around 2 p.m., according to police officials. Najadi, founder of the Arab Malaysian banking group, and his wife made their way to their car when they were confronted by an armed man who fired several rounds at the couple. The suspect and his 2 accomplices fled the scene in a taxi bearing a bogus registration number. 75-year-old Najadi was shot in the chest and left ribcage and died instantly. His wife sustained injuries to her hand and right thigh, but is in a stable condition at a local hospital.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Pascal Najadi.
Good evening, everybody. I'm overwhelmed because Clare Rawcastle Brown, her family, her husband Andrew, have gone through great dangers to bring justice to Malaysia. I think Clare, to be honest, as always, without your work, we would have not had a second Merdeka for Malaysia. I have the honor to be here with you, and I don't take too much time. I'm a Swiss. I'm also a British citizen, so I'm at home here as well. I will take 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time. Many stories have been going around, and the only truthful reporting came actually from Clare's work, the Sarawak report. Without Sarawak report, we would have not been here today, having a new Merdeka for Malaysia, a new chance, and also for me and my family to be able to find justice. I'm standing here, not here in front of you because of Najib. It's not about Najib or Osman. Believe me, it's not. It's about justice. Justice, justice, and justice. I always said, justice for Malaysia, justice for Najadi. That's my slogan from the beginning in Facebook, and hasn't changed. So Clare, first of all, thank you very much to you and your family, Andrew, to support the story, that we could talk to you, that we had an ear and an outlet, prominent outlet to work up the story of something which we as a family also were shrouded in darkness. And because I'm here today, and my wife is here, Anna, please stand up. I wish to convey to you a few elements of truth, in my view, truth. I want you to hear it from the horse's mouth, me. My father came to Malaysia in '74. He brought his own money to Malaysia. At that time, he had the great idea to create a bridge to develop Malaysia and use the Arab money from Kuwait at that time, by the way, to finance the infrastructure of Malaysia. So we're talking refineries in Cebu, we're talking the first Malaysian Airlines DC-1030 long-haul aircraft was financed by Arab AMDB, today's Ambang Group. The plane was financed without any commissions or backhands to connect Kuala Lumpur via a fuel stop in Colombo with London, another historic, important pivot of the Malaysian history, a former British colony. I grew up in Malaysia as a divorced kid, so I came from Switzerland, went to Kuala Lumpur as a 10-year-old, 9-year-old. There was no race. There was no religious talk there. In our house in Ampang, I was, as a kid, having barbecue with Malay kids, Chinese kids, Malaysians, Indians, expat kids. We had spare ribs. We had hamburgers, sausages. The women, the ladies had their hair open. It was a wonderful open society. I talk about 1975. And my father fell in love with Malaysia because he said Singapore was already too developed as a city-state. He said Malaysia has everything as a paradise to evolve. Multicultural, multiracial, great education, great academies brought in by the British and left by the British, a system, an organization, administration, and you know it maybe, Malaysian academies, especially engineering, were amongst the world's top academies in the world for engineering, was Malaysia. So out of Malaysia, the bank, today called Ambang Group, was founded as Arab Malaysian Development Bank. And now here comes the point. You got to know this, because I'm in front of you. My father only had $2 million in his pocket, all his savings. At that time, $2 million was a lot of money, a lot. And he put it on the table, and he went to seek the blessing of none other than Tun Razak. Tun Razak, the man who was selflessly running Malaysia at the time as a prime minister. And he died poor. He didn't die with private jets and Rolls Royces in his garage, or 50 handbags of Hermes, etc. The man died humbly, I would say poor compared to his son, who has completely destroyed the legacy that his father has built. So the idea of Arab Malaysian Development Bank was none other, as the name says, it was Arab Malaysian Development Bank. And Tun Razak said, Hussain, you can have your bank here, no problem, but we will have majority. We want to control what you're doing in Malaysia. He said, no problem. So 51% of Arab Malaysian Development Bank was actually owned by the Malaysian government, and my father brought the money to found the bank. So the bank was mainly in charge of infrastructure projects. The refinery in Cebu was built through it, MAS was expanded with the airline fleet, etc., etc., etc. He's done a lot for the country he loved. I told Anna a few days ago, I said, Anna, my father told me always, before 2013, he said, Pascal and Heidi, my mother, I want to die and be buried in Malaysia. He was, yeah. That was his wish. I said, Dad, you're Persian origin, you have Iranian roots. No. I want to sleep in Malaysia. Sadly, as we know, he's buried there. I have not been able to visit the grave. So, before I go, I would like to tell you the moments when it happened. I think I owe it to my father, I owe it to you, so that you know the truth. The horse is in front of you, and that's my mouth. On the 29th of October, of July 2013, I was in Moscow, the Russian Federation, to grow our company's business. I got a phone call. And the phone call was my Russian language teacher from KL crying. And I said, Galina, why are you crying? What's wrong? And I was on another call, I had to put her down. Then the phone rings again. Then their husband is on the phone, Chris. And Chris said, Pascal, sit down. Something terrible happened. I said, what do you mean? Your father is dead. Confirmed, dead. This moment I can only describe as the only moment a human being like me has been able to meet a vacuum. Vacuum is in space. There is no oxygen, there is nothing. I couldn't believe it. And the first phone call I had to do was to call my mother, Heidi. She was in KLCC, in her condo, and I had to call her from Moscow to inform her what has happened. And I thought my mother would cry, and she was very strong. The maternal, the primordial spirit of a mother came out and said, Pascal, it's horrible. Sit down yourself in Moscow. Let's take it step by step, because this is terrible news. The first story, and you have to know this, 48 hours after the killing, the assassination of my late father, the Malaysian police made a statement, and you have to know this, and they said, 48 hours. It was a land deal gone bad. I said, wait a minute. How can any government security organization like a police or prosecution, after 48 hours of an assassination, claim to know what happened? It was already, for me, suspicious. How can they know so quickly why my father got killed, assassinated, broad daylight, downtown Kuala Lumpur? Later, we protested. On the same day, on the day of the burn of my late dad, I was in Moscow, Russia. I made a comment on Bernama, etc. I said, land deal, go dream elsewhere. This is not, we don't know what it is, but it's definitely not a land deal. And let me make a statement here before you. Me and my father were the two shareholders of our company, the remainder of Ambank founding company AYAK, Malaysia, Arab Investments for Asia, Kuwait, Malaysia, Sandrat Behar. I made a statement and said, for sure we had no land deal, we never did land deals. My family never was involved in real estate or property dealings. We were advisors. We were strategic advisors, and we were helping Middle Eastern investors from the Gulf, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iran, to found their business in Malaysia, to start looking at Asia Pacific through Malaysia. That was my marketing, and that was the marketing driven by my father. So we had no land deals. And I have to go back to Clare now, because you ask myself, what have we done 2013? 2013, I was staying in Moscow until September 15th, when I dared to go back. And I was on a flight from Singapore Airlines, from Moscow to Singapore, connecting Singapore to KL. And on the Singapore to KL flight, on my seat next to me was a lady Tunku, who lives in exile. I want to keep her name private. And she told me, oh, you're the son of Hussain. Yeah. She said, what are you doing going back to Malaysia? You're crazy, they'll kill you too. And I didn't believe what the woman was saying. But I listened to her. She said, Pascal, get your mother out and leave Malaysia. She said, even if you tell the Malaysians that you don't care to know why it happened, that you just want to continue with business, they will not believe you, they'll kill you as well. So we lost everything. On the 8th of March 2014, coincidentally, I have exfiltrated myself through Moscow. It was the same day where the tragic MH370 went missing. So you can imagine, I was at the airport, I saw hundreds of Malaysian citizens grieving, not knowing where their loved ones are on that flight. And myself, I was a victim of assassination of my father. It was, you cannot imagine, it was something that came down like a helicopter landing on my head. And I confess to you today, and you're the first ones to know, I went through a clinical severe depression for about 12 months. Without the expertise of Swiss professors to get me back up, and Anna knows what that means, depression is something that can kill you. Even sometimes it is suicidal. But then I got this phone call from Clare. Yeah. And Clare was in Spain, I think, at her father's place, and she called me and said, look, would you be able to talk to me and reveal? I said, yes, I am. Although I told Clare, I don't have all the answers to the questions, but I can tell you for sure that this and that never happened. We were not flying private jets. My father and I never flew the private jet in and out of Malaysia. We did not drive Rolls Royces or Bentleys or God knows what. We did not have opulence in our household. We were a modest household, always humble and there for everybody to talk to. But without Clare Rawcastle Brown and her family, we would have never gotten the ear of you. So Clare, let me make a big thank you to you and your family. Okay, so now a lot of rumors going around that case reopen, not reopen, all these things. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the law. Interesting enough, I must say I'm disgusted to see Najib and Rosma being able to bail themselves out, including Shafi, the lawyer. Now, you might want to know, Shafi Abdullah, how did he connect to us, the tragedy? Now, here goes the thing. Around morning time, Moscow, I got a phone call from Kuala Lumpur. My father was assassinated, dead. He was my dream, he was my hero, gone. 2 days later, the government says it's a land deal gone wrong at a temple, at a religious temple, a Chinese temple. Well, for a land deal, you need a buyer and a seller. The temple is not for sale, it's a religious institution. There is no talk about a land deal on a temple, or a mosque, or a synagogue, or a church. Forget it. We started to think what went wrong, and we had to go through a lot of pain talking to people, and thanks to Facebook, I'm not a shareholder, I'm not a fan of Facebook, but thanks to Facebook, people came forward. Certain people came forward. Some of them were bogus, trying to become famous, they discarded them. But some of them, and one of them, became a key witness. My father, and I believe I know what I'm talking about, got eliminated, executed for 30 million ringgit. At that time it was $7 million in cash. Now we found the cash bags at Najib's home. It seems that they have used cash to pay people, a lot of cash. Not just in Malaysia, outside of the country. When we talk about this case, people say, oh, reopen, close, reopen, close. The case, I told it to another journalist last week in Switzerland, the case was never opened. Because if you want to investigate a murder, an assassination, the central thing you need to investigate is the motive. Was it jealousy? Was it hate? Was it political? Whatever. The motive has never been investigated. Instead, what they have investigated was the shooter. They caught the guy, a Chinese Malaysian who got 20,000 ringgit, I repeat, 20,000 ringgit, $4,000, to pull the trigger. That guy now is in prison. And I always said, I don't want revenge. I don't want this man to die or be hanged. I said, he's a key witness. Don't put him on death row. We need to investigate with this man who paid him to do the job. Now, funny enough, and this is a timeline, 2 days after the shooting, the government said, temple deal, land deal, gone wrong. This is wrong, not true. Second, the shooter gets captured. And then the Malaysian police, and you can Google that, made a statement. Shooter got 20,000 ringgit from Lim Yuan Su. Chinese, low-level, Malaysian, red light guy. Now we know something different. The guy left Malaysia for Sydney 2 days after the assassination. He was able to fly to Sydney, Australia. And I found out through my investigation that Lim Yuan Su took an aircraft from Sydney, a commercial aircraft, to Shanghai, where he vanished. Now here's the important point in law. The then Attorney General conducted, in my personal view, the investigation by the book. And the Malaysian police and the prosecution, the Attorney General's office, immediately have put Lim Yuan Su on red notice at Interpol. For those of you who don't know Interpol, Interpol is based in Lyon in France, and Interpol is not an investigative body, it's an executive body to arrest people who are fugitive of a country's crime. Now you have to know, to qualify for a red notice, and Clare failed because they could not prove that Clare had a 2-year prison sentence offense. That's why Lyon has rejected Clare Rawcastle Brown's red notice, which was brought up by the Malaysians, because she has not been evidenced to be, at least for 2 years, crime in prison. Lim Yuan Su qualified for 2 years. 2 years. Lim Yuan Su was on Malaysian Interpol red notice. 2 full years. And then Clare called me. 2015, Clare, it was summer, I believe, where we started to put things in order, put the ducks in a row, and Clare, through her great brain and fantastic journalistic experience, started to dissect and started to put together the puzzle again, and started to write about what I've told her, and she concluded as well. Lim Yuan Su, 2 years Interpol red notice. How come? It can only happen if the Attorney General has submitted enough evidence to Lyon, and they have a committee, don't get me wrong, and yes, he qualified, so he was 2 years there. And then I get a phone call from KL 2 years later, excuse me, in 2016, oh, Lim Yuan Su was arrested at KLIA. Our lawyer was at that time Honorable Gobind Singh Deo, honorable man. They have not even informed our lawyer that they have so-called arrested Lim Yuan Su all of a sudden. Then they said, oh, 8 days we had to let him go, lack of evidence. And Lim Yuan Su now, today, has a changed identity. He has a new Malaysian passport. He's roaming around. He's the majority shareholder of a Malaysian security company, together with the former police chief of Malacca. Now what does it tell you? Low-level guy? No. He was pretty well entrenched. He's a former police chief of Malacca in a security company. Weapons, etc., etc., etc. So, you hear from the horse's mouth, I'm the horse here. Something just doesn't add up. And I close those comments. I'm very happy for Malaysia and all Malaysians that they have a second Merdeka. It was the second Merdeka 1 minute before noon. Otherwise the country would have gone, sorry to say, down the toilet for good. But now Malaysia has a new chance to find retribution in a gentle way, to try to work up all the issues, all the victims. It's not just my father, it's other victims too. Kevin Moraes, in a cement drum, deputy public prosecutor, killed. No investigation. Ben Hook jumped from a MACC office to death voluntarily? Come on. It's not going to happen. Altantuya, the most prominent killing. We know all the atrocities. Explosives, kill the woman and then blow her up. I feel so sorry for the parents and for the relatives of Altantuya. It's gruesome. You cannot even dream such a thing. And to close this whole speech, yes, Wolf of Wall Street. It's a truly sick movie, believe me. I'm a banker. I was advising governments all over the world, out of London here. If I would have spotted anything like Wolf of Wall Street going on in my bank, believe me, all these people would be fired and put into prison. But Wolf of Wall Street perhaps is a Freudian slip of the producers, because that's how they lived. Spending money like water, buying new cars, private jets, Cholo buying a yacht. Well, it fits all the picture of the mentality of the people who financed Wolf of Wall Street. It's haram. I'm Christian, I'm Russian Orthodox, but I still don't know what haram means. It's bad. It's just bad. If I have one thing to say for my father is that we love you, and you're not dead. And thanks to Clare and all of you here, he's not dead. He's still alive in our minds. If I have one criticism to make, and I'm sorry to say this now, I cannot understand. We have a Malaysian law, right? You Google AMLA 2001, anti-money laundering, anti-terrorism law. Who is a lawyer in here? Hands up. Okay. Non-bailable charge lah. Non-bailable. Correct? Yeah lah. You're the lawyer. How come Najib and Rosma are bailed out by drug-killing blood money today to be out of prison? I think it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And if I have one advice to Dr. Tun Mahathir, with greatest respect to give, I understand that he has to be seen as a balanced, astute leader, but you know, I know Mahathir from different times. He's outspoken, and he's the one at the UN who made the speeches like this. So I asked Dr. Mahathir, stop this bailing out of AMLA law 2001, which is non-bailable. Put those bad people into prison for good. Thank you.